Hello and welcome to another episode of IBJJF Q&A. I'm your host, John Medina, and joining me today is four-time world champion, Pan champion, two-time European champion, and Brasileiro champion, Guilherme Mendes. Professor, how are you doing today?
Good, man. Very good. Happy to be here with you guys.
Awesome. Great. Well, let's get started then. So I think my first question, I want to start off this interview by, giving credit to the business side of your work. Of course, the Mendes brothers are amazing athletes, but you guys are also marketing geniuses. One of the main things that you guys have done is pay very close attention to aesthetic and detail, from the build out of your academy to your choice in events your students compete in, and to the way you manage your social media accounts. I'm sure you know this, but you guys have changed the entire idea to many academy owners and outsiders of what it's like to train and learn jiu-jitsu. So many gyms across the world have followed your lead, whether they'll admit it or not. You see the white mats, you see the cool video content, the obvious influence of style. I guess I just wanted to ask you, how does it make you feel to have left such a big mark on jiu-jitsu as a whole worldwide, with your style and with your business side?
And it feels really good for sure. I think this is better than any world title that we could win. This is what people will remember for sure, and it's what I think it's the biggest influence that we can have. Like more than techniques, more than motivating the young generation with championship results. I think that this is what we are very proud about. When we try to think about our career and everything that we have done in jiu-jitsu, and it for sure it was part of the plan. I think it would be it's hard for us to whenever we started to think how things would unfold. You start your jiu-jitsu career as a kid, or at least we did, and a lot of people do now, and your biggest dream is to become a world champion and to become a reference in the sport, and that was our main motivation for many years. We started as a kid, and then we would see people that were world champions traveling, teaching seminars, and competing, going to different countries. I remember seeing people going to Abu Dhabi and photos of it. That was the first thing that motivated us to really get into it, is that how much impact that could have in our life. Because I came from a small city where everybody kind of follow the same path, our entire family, and everybody else that lives there, it's just it's a countryside, small city. You basically work in a job 12 hours a day. You do extra work to get a little bit more money, and then you go back home. Your family is already almost going to bed, and then you wake up the next day and you go to work and spend all day working. And I think I never wanted to do that. I always wanted to get out. As soon as I saw a possibility of getting out of that cycle, we just took it. And jiu-jitsu was that. We started at 12 years old, and that was the biggest opportunity for us. Was the biggest window that we saw, and we had the dream of having an academy one day and stuff. But things just start shaping as we start accomplishing our goals. I think we never stopped dreaming. We never stopped setting goals, and things just start escalating as we felt confident that we could accomplish them. And here we are today, and I'm very happy for everything that you just said, this influence that we had, and everything that not just us as athletes, AOJ has the impact that it has done in the jiu-jitsu community.
Yeah, it's really cool to see, especially saying where you came from, and seeing your meteoric rise, and it's worldwide. So it's really cool. It's really cool to see your journey.
And one thing that I think the word marketing, it's I don't know how it sounds in English, but in Portuguese it's I think what we do is we expose our work, because like whenever like people always ask me the same question, it's I think we to be honest we don't do a lot of marketing. Like if you think about marketing, it's like when you're like telling people to buy your stuff and like you're asking them to do. For us, like we post videos of what we do. Like it's like we post like our students results in competitions, and like we post the techniques that we teach in the academy. And yeah, I don't think like we don't push any sale, to be honest. Like and that's where like I feel like maybe like we could be like doing even better if like we were pushing sales, but like that's not our style, like we just go out there and we show our work, and that attracts people. Like people like good quality. People they get interested whenever they see that something it's made with like a passion.
Right.
And I think this is the roots of everything. Like everything that we do, it's with passion. Everything that we do, it's like paying attention to details. It's paying attention to how people are gonna see that. And I think that's what makes it special.
Yeah, I completely agree. I kind of wanted to touch on the entire philosophy of AOJ. I think it's. I mean, I'm an outsider, of course, so I'm not in the day to day, but I think it's very different from traditional academies. I feel like you expect a lot out of your students, not in a bad way, but that you just, you don't change the curriculum to make it easier for different levels. What's great about this is you see your students rise to the occasion. You can see it from all levels too, from the kids to the adults. They develop very technically sound jujitsu. What was the process behind the creation of the AOJ curriculum?
I think like it's everything is like I said, like everything kind of like unfolds with like our style, and whenever we were developing the curriculum, and of course there were like multiple updates like through the years. Like you start every time. Like I came here like to US to open the academy, I was 23 years old. I had like little experience on the business side,
Mhm.
and basically zero, to be honest. And I taught classes in Brazil that for sure gave me a good understanding on how to control the environment and how to make like the class good for everyone that is present on the mat. And but we were always traveling to teach seminars. Like the first couple of years in that we got our black belt, I think that first like 3 years, like we were already like traveling everywhere with like Japan, like everywhere. Like we went to Europe, like multiple different places. And one thing that we do a lot, and it's not just me and my brother. We try to pay attention to everything that people do. We pay very close attention to like the way people run their classes, like the way people like take care of like the students, like the way the environment is in the academy. And I think traveling to different academies at young age gave us like this good perspective of what is good and what's bad. And that for sure like helped us to shape or ideal like perfect academy. Like I know that everyone has a different style, and everyone has a different perspective for what they think it's good or perfect for them. But I think all this traveling and experiencing different cultures,
Mhm.
experiencing different academies, for sure helped us to find the balance and develop what we believe it's like the perfect place. And today, like AOJ is the place that I always dreamed about. It's a place that is not only a jiu-jitsu academy, but it's a platform where people can come and learn jiu-jitsu, but they can also, for the young athletes, like they can learn how to work with jiu-jitsu, because I think this is very important for the jiu-jitsu community as well. We don't want to have young kids starting jiu-jitsu having the dream of becoming black belt world champion, and not being able to make money or provide for their families in the future, and then they have to migrate to another job and start over because they were not able to create a life with jiu-jitsu. And I think we create a lot of influence in our athletes here because of the way we run the academy, how professional we are with everything that we do, and for sure that it's something that set us apart, and it's really important. Like a lot of our athletes here, like they are people that are already like making money, even if like the ones that are not black belt yet, they are already working with jiu-jitsu. We are already preparing them to what can happen in the future, and a lot of people. And I think this is a big problem in jiu-jitsu, like not just in Brazil or like in America. I think like everywhere, the old school mentality or like that mentality of like just training jiu-jitsu with the expectation of becoming a world champion, and then somehow things will happen because you won a gold medal. That idea like doesn't like it doesn't happen that way. Like I went through the whole process as an athlete, and I know how important it is to create not only skills on the mat, but to develop skills off the mat as well, and build your character and build yourself as a person, because that's what's going to empower you to be able to work with jiu-jitsu. And I really believe that to create like a champion, you don't need to invest a lot on teaching techniques. You need to invest a lot on teaching them how to learn life skills, like how
Mhm.
to talk to people, how to uh, even like stay comfortable in front of the cameras, how to be respectful, how to be like stuff that they are gonna use everywhere they go, not only on the mat. Like how to carry themselves like around people, like how to approach problems, like how to come back whenever you have adversity. All this kind of stuff that it's more of like a life lesson. I think like this is the what shapes you as a person, and it's what makes you become a champion. Because if you are a person that has like all these skills, for sure it's going to make it much easier for you to win gold medals, to have the discipline that it takes to be the champion.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the most important life lesson or lessons to learn from jujitsu are those life lessons. I think that's really what you want to give the kids and the people that you teach. If anything, that's what makes a great professor. But transitioning into that, you kind of touched on this. Um, I kind of wanted to talk to you more about your youth program, because I know you guys really focused on that a lot at AOJ, and it made me kind of think. I see all these kids. I'm from Southern California, so I see AOJ and I see how much they dominate at a lot of these tournaments. Your kids program, so it just makes me think. Um, what's your opinion on the future of the sport? Back in the day, people could start jiu-jitsu much later in life and still become a world champion or reach the highest levels of the sport. But now, much like bigger sports, you kind of need to start as a kid to make it to the pros. As far as competition goes, what's your take on future world champions as a whole? Do you believe they need to start their jiu-jitsu development at a much younger age?
Yeah, for sure they need to start jiu-jitsu really young if they want to be a world champion, a black belt world champion, especially nowadays with the way the sport is developing. And man, I think this is the right thing, right? Like if you want a high level sport, if you want like the highest level, like that's
Mhm.
what you need to expect. It's like this for most of the sports. And I think like was not like that in jiu-jitsu. Me and my brother, like I think we were part of like one of the first generations to, besides the Gracies, of course, to start as a kid, and we were young athletes. And I don't even think like the Gracies, like they were like athletes like since the beginning. They were just like it's a family thing for them, like they a lot of them like they were training with the family and stuff. But for us, like for me and my brother, and like some people from my generation that now are multiple time world champions, I saw that transformation. And it's when I try to analyze, it's probably like the first one, or like at least that I can think, that were competing as a yellow belt or a juvenile blue belt, and then went through the rankings, like winning everything, and then made their way to the black belt, winning like in the first like couple of years. And uh, for sure, like it's every year that it will be harder for people that start on their 20s to be the black belt world champion, for sure. And I think this is one of the biggest issues that we see. It's people complaining about like sandbagging, and like a blue belt is training for how many this many years, and why they're a blue belt. And I think it doesn't really matter, like people are going to start training young. They're going to be much better than the person that start later on in life. And that's the result that you get for making the decisions like young, and that's why it's so important. Like the more, whenever I'm as a parent now, what I try to do is to have my kids like experience a little bit of everything, and then try to make them start making decisions, and like what they like, what they don't like, and like how important it is to have discipline in the things that they like, so they start learning skills. And uh, and and, and that's it. Like I try to do the same thing with my kids. Like my daughter, for example, like she's 6 years old, and she does like piano classes, she does jiu-jitsu, she does like swimming lessons. And every time I talk to her, I always try to see how much she likes it, and like what kind of like which class she likes better. And I always explain to her how important it is to really get into it, and try to pay attention and try to improve, because the faster you develop this mindset of having discipline, I think the faster you achieve the results. And for sure, it's a compound effect. Like it accumulates through the years, and like you start young, and then like if you start at 5, at 6, 7, or 8, you might not have a lot of results yet, but by the time you're 15, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to see a lot of results by that decision of like starting at 5 years old and sticking to it. So yeah, I really like this, because I'm a big fan of like high level.
Mm-hmm.
I love seeing like young champions, and like how good they can get at such young age. And we have many here. We have kids that already like making decisions of like becoming athletes. And in my opinion, it's you have to chase your dreams. You have to be the person that, and you can make this decision at very young age. I made this decision at like 13. I remember like sitting at the table with like other people, even people from my family, not like my mom or dad, but like, and then kind of like trying to push us away from this, saying like why don't you try to find a job and do jiu-jitsu on the side? Because or why don't you go to college and do jiu-jitsu on the side? Because if this thing doesn't work out, like you're not gonna know anything. Like you're not gonna know like what to do with your life, and it will be hard for you to find a job. And I remember in my mind just thinking like it's not like there's no way this is not gonna work out. Like I'm gonna give everything I have to make this thing work out, and we did. I if you have this kind of discipline that we had, and like I see a lot of people nowadays having too, I think you can make like you can make your way like through the top. And it's only hard if you don't have discipline, if you don't have the I think like if you don't have the life skills or the personality that it takes. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's when it gets hard. If you're a person that's lazy, or a person that doesn't have discipline, or a person that gets like distracted really easily, or gets pushed away really easily from your goals, or you lose motivation every time you fail, like this kind of stuff. Yeah, like if you are a person like this, and you really need to pay attention, and try to fix it, so you can actually like achieve the highest level in the sport, if this is your goal. But it is hard, for sure. Everything that you want to do and succeed in, not just in sports. Like if you want to be the best doctor, the best lawyer, like it's
Right.
gonna take a lot of work, you know. And for sports, it's not different. If you want to stand out, you better put more work than everybody. You better have like skills on the mat and off the mat that other people don't have. So whenever it gets to game time, like you're different than the other people, and that's what I try to tell them. And I love this generation that we see now of like young champions that are very like mature and they know what they want and they're like striving to be the best because that's how the sport evolves.
Yeah, I completely agree. Uh, Now, I kind of want to talk about your career and your brother's career a little bit. I think one of the biggest achievements you and your brother have made towards the sport was not only your ability, but your open mindedness and your willingness to learn and study some of the most minute details of the martial art. It really shows your level of comprehension of the physics of jiu-jitsu. You guys are widely known for your advancements in several positions, moves, strategies of jiu-jitsu. And to me, it seems like you were the ones who really, analyze certain positions and situations that people might often overlook. When you guys were coming up and first started to formulate your ideas and concepts of your jujitsu, was the plan already to become an innovator in the sport, or was it something you just fell upon because of your passion for it?
Yeah, I don't think it's a plan that you have. Like you don't start at 12 years old and you think like I'm gonna be an innovator in the sport or like I'm gonna have like the like I think it's very hard for you to understand the like to measure like how big it's gonna be your influence in your community or in the like in your sport or whatever you do. I think it always starts with like being very passionate about what you're doing, and that's how it was for us. Like the only thing that we were thinking about at 12 and 13 years old was jiu-jitsu. We had that dream of like becoming a champion, and somehow we got so attached to it. It was like something that was alive, but the whole time. Like I know that a lot of like the kids like especially at that time they started like something and then 2 months later they would decide to do something else and then eventually they would go back to jiu-jitsu or was a different time for sure, but somehow we got so attached to it. And I think with a lot of factors that were happening in my family too, with like was like a time that was very difficult for us. Like my parents, like they were getting divorced. My mom was working like two jobs, and like I didn't have like my dad around. So we got really attached to our jiu-jitsu professor. So he was like a father to us. So a lot of stuff that happened in our personal life like made us get really attached to jiu-jitsu,
Mhm.
and uh, and we just start developing like a huge passion to it, and then everything else just like happened naturally, like just winning competitions, like being like trying to study jiu-jitsu was always a way for us to express ourselves and like to get closer to our goals. And of course like as things start happening, then you are able to have a better vision of what you really want and like what you can accomplish. But I think it always starts in a small scale, and it start like growing, and as you get closer you get even more motivated to do it. And you always like right now like I still have a lot of dreams, a lot of goals that I want to achieve. Like like of course not as an athlete, but I feel that everything that we achieved just opened so many doors to us and gave us so many experience that I'm still young. I'm like on my early 30s. Like there's so much more to do, and I just need to keep the same mindset that I had when I was 13, 14 years old. And there's no limits, like I really want to keep like I love like teaching jiu-jitsu. I love coaching. I love the business aspect of it. And you can always bring the champion mentality to everything that you do. Like I have the same approach that I had to like training and competing to win a world tournament. Like I have to everything else that I do, like on the business side and the coaching side. Like I want to be the best. I want to be an example to everybody. I want to create an impact to in the jiu-jitsu community. I want to expand and go way above the jiu-jitsu community and explore different areas. There's a lot of stuff that we still like have goals and we dream about, and we're not gonna stop. This is part of life, in my opinion. It's what like makes you wake up every day and have goals and have something to work for. If you the day that you stop having goals, the day that you get satisfied with everything that you have, there's no point of like living.
Mhm.
And I think like the fact that we built our family really really young too. I have 2 kids. My wife is pregnant now. My brother has 3 kids. This was always a goal for us to be young dads, and I want to see my kid doing jiu-jitsu or like experiencing stuff, and be young and energetic to be there with them. That was a big influence, and uh, in why we stopped competing. Of course, like we achieved everything that we wanted to achieve, but like when we like start like building a family and you have a business and stuff, like it for sure helped us to make the decision to focus on that. And this is one of like the things that for sure makes me wake up every day and have like the desire to do more.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear. It's you're carrying that like Mamba mentality wherever you go with everything you do. Basically, I mean, that's what makes you successful in all aspects. Uh, Lastly, I want to focus on one more piece of what you guys do really well. It's your way to strategize. Without giving away too many secrets. Can you kind of let us in on how you and Rafael used to approach tournaments like the Worlds, and what do you do now to prepare your students for such big events?
Uh, I think there are 2 ways to be a coach, and like that's like the main thing that I see whenever like I'm coaching my students, and I pay a lot of attention in like the other coaches, like the way they like, especially the opponents, like the way the coaches approach like the challenge.
Mhm.
And in my opinion, there are 2 ways. One, it's the person that pushes like the athlete like by using like motivation, like make them like boost their confidence with like you're the best, or like you're gonna win this, there's no way you're gonna lose. Like you keep saying this kind of stuff that will for sure create some kind of like impact in the student. As a student, like I never liked that approach, so like
Mm.
I'm the opposite, because like I always thought that if the coach is like saying too much that like I'm gonna win, or like this is like I'm much better than the guy, there's no way the guy is gonna beat me, I think that would create always that huge expectation. And whenever you're under pressure, if you add more pressure to it, it makes you crumble. And I'm very realistic as a coach. I think that's what makes the students like feel comfortable with me, because I'm very real to them.
Mm.
So like I always try to be real with what kind of challenge they're facing and where they are at, and what are the possibilities there. And they really know what I'm thinking whenever we are going to a competition. And I think this confidence in it helps them a lot, because for sure like I have confidence in the athletes. They train all day, they start training really young, they are like amazing. And but I'm not that coach that's gonna be like, oh, let's go, there's no way you're gonna lose. Like I'm more like, oh, this is the kind of challenge that we have, the person use this kind of move. That's how I would approach if I was in your situation. And then I always have a conversation like, how, what do you want to do, so we both know what to expect, and like, this is the way I think it's gonna go. Okay, okay. And like I think it's more like of a friendly like a conversation, because I, for me, like was always like this. I had my professor, but I also had my brother. So with your brother, like you're 100% transparent, you know, like you're like you say what you think, and like it's very real. And I think this is what I bring the best, like as a coach. Like I'm able to have the same kind of like conversations that I had with my brother, with my students. Like it's very real. Like they know what I'm thinking. They know like what I expect. They know like everything that I think it's right or wrong, and I think that just creates a very good atmosphere. Like whenever like we are going to a challenge together, because I think there's not a lot of like false expectations, or there's like basically zero false expectations.
Mhm.
Like everything is like right on point.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's
I
cool.
think that to answer your question, I think like this is the secret for me. Like I'm a person that like I say like exactly what I think like to the students. So if they have a tough challenge, like I will tell them, look, like this person is good doing this. That's how I think you can beat them. If like if I was you, I would do it this way, and that, or that's how I would prepare for this kind of challenge.
Mm.
And it's working pretty well. You know, I think like everything that's real, it's a special. Everything that is real, I think brings results. And like to me, like I'm very passionate about it. I'm very passionate about coaching. I create a very strong uh, relationship with the students. Like I'm present on the mat every day. Like they see that I'm a part of it. Like I put dedication into it, and I think whenever you have that trust in your professor, that he is like doing his part. I tell them all the time, look, my part, even if I don't go to the competition, my part is to create the best training environment for you guys, so you guys can you can have the best training session. You can prepare yourself 100%.
Mm.
Everything else they do is on their own, like the way they eat, the way they work out, the way they sleep, like the things that they do off the mat, the way they carry themselves. Like I always let them know what I think is right and what I think is wrong. They can always like follow the advices based on experience, and and I think that's it. That's the secret. It's like it's as real as they come, you know. Like and for us, it's like that. Like I'm real, and they trust me, and I trust them too. And I think that's what's important.
Awesome, awesome. That's really cool to hear your your connection with your students, and that bond you guys have created, and it shows because they listen to you, and they win tournaments like crazy. So um, now I wanted to get into a little breakdown of one of your matches from 2012 Pans. Let me just connect it here. The reason why I picked this match was because you know it's, well, for one, it's your one of your top viewed videos on IBJJF YouTube, but also it was just a real masterclass of pressure passing, and when you take a position, you don't give it back, and then guard passing to submission. So if you could just help us like break this down, or if you remember anything from this tournament or anything like that. So we'll start it right when you there's one part where you begin to start your passing. Already, what I noticed from your passing, oh, the leg drag. Here's what's interesting about your leg drag. I noticed. You keep a real tight game where most people, when I see leg drag, is real loose and open, but you open up right at the end to leg drag. Is that normal, or is that, or do you do it both ways?
Can you pause right there so I can like kind of like give a little bit of like a background before?
Oh, sure.
So one thing that like I think it helped me to achieve like the world titles in this division. Like my professor used to say something to me that now it makes like totally sense. And at that time, like I don't know if I really understood what he wanted to say, but he used to say that everyone in the light feather division was a guard player. So like they were expecting people to have good guards and do like back attacks and stuff like this. And there was always like a huge exchange of sweeps every fight. And every time
Mhm.
I studied, then like there were only a couple that were actually like playing top. Most of them were just like guard players. And my professor always told me like, if you develop a game that is different than everybody, it will help you because they're not going to be training for that. They're going to face somebody that's completely different than everybody else. And
Mhm.
I think that's like what I focus on. If you pay attention, I was coming on top like in almost every match. And you, especially at that time, like you were not able to see that. Like people were fighting to be in the bottom position, especially light feather. Everyone's flexible. People have like strong guards. And nowadays, when I watch, like there's a lot of stuff that I could have done that like we're missing, you know. And for sure, like it's always like this. Like you're always a better version of yourself. Like even when you stop competing, like your
Right.
mind just keep working and you keep learning. And but like I see this difference like in the style, and for sure that messed up with a lot of like a lot of my opponents, like with their minds and like their confidence, because I was training with my brother the whole time, and my brother was like a great guard player, like the best I ever trained, and that built my confidence to be on top too, because like we would have like very good training, and then in my mind, like I was thinking like none of the guys that I'm fighting like are better than my brother, so if I can do a good job like on top of his guard, like for sure like I'll be able to do it in the competition. And that's normally how you do it. You basically you try to emulate your division in the training, and then like try to like build your mindset around it. And I had great training. Like my brother was like very good training for me to build a mindset to fight in this division, because he felt stronger and was and had like a better guard than like the opponents that I competed against, and that for sure like influenced my mindset a lot.
Okay, that's why you like to play. You play top. Nice. And I still notice that a lot of light feathers are like to be on the bottom still. You know.
Yeah. So like yeah, I did a leg drag, and then I always try to close the gap as soon as possible. So very different than my brother. My brother is more of a speed pass. He would be moving side to side, connecting techniques,
Hmm.
and I normally, as soon as I feel the gap it's open, I try to close the space and use more of like pressure pass, like chest on chest, like knee slide position, and
Hmm.
that's what's happening there. Like I was able to get a leg drag, the gap was open, and I closed the space.
Yeah, yeah. I made that highlight of your brother just recently, and that is one of the things I noticed the most right now is that he is like Toriandoing a lot, and he'll leg drag, but he'll like tease it, and then he'll back out. Where you'll leg drag and you'll just close the distance and smash. You know, basically like right now.
Yeah,
And this pressure is pretty crazy for the light feather. You know, this guy doesn't seem to be. He can't move. You know, Francielo Fernandez. He can't move right now, and it's very rare to see in the light feather. I mean, there's a few people that I can think of right now that do it, but you don't see it very often. Um, I guess like what angle, like what is it that you focus on with this pressure?
I, I I think I focus a lot on just like maintaining myself in a position that it's uncomfortable for my opponent, and trying to make my opponent like waste a lot of energy, like trying to push and trying to escape, and then eventually that happened. Like the person normally they give the back because like they are in the side
Uncomfortable.
control, or like yeah yeah they have not a lot of options, and they start giving the back. And one thing that I used to do a lot too, that I felt really comfortable in the knee slide position, so I would give my foot to the opponent to put me in the half guard, and then I would play from there. That's where like I was able to set up a lot of my submissions. I always did a lot of baseball choke or bravo
Yes.
choke that are submissions that come from the half guard and in my game. And I was always like trying to do that. I was always like trying to give the foot so they would lock the half guard. My knee would be out, and then I would be working from this like quarter guard, like the people call nowadays, like where like the person is only locking the foot, but the knee is out, and you have great mobility there. So
You kind of something interesting. It kind of dates back to your past. You trained in Braza for quite a while, and there's a lot of half guard players from there. So is that where you got comfortable with playing against people from half guard, like a Lucas Leitch or something like that?
yeah, I think like this like cross training like and everything that we did for sure it's just like competitions, whenever you don't train with the person and then you go there, you do like a different training, it feels more like a competition than a training session, and
Ah,
for
yeah.
sure that gives a lot of like experience. I think like I was always like studying and like watching videos of like people competing, and even athletes that were like competing at the same time as us, like I said, like I analyze a lot, and I think that's where I learn the most, because like I'm always studying, I'm always like trying to see what people are doing that works and what doesn't work. And yeah, it's like the cross training would for sure helps, but I don't think it's the main factor. The main
Mhm.
factor is this will to be always improving, to be always studying,
Yeah.
and that for sure, like is it's what made the difference.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, you can see like how I have underhooks and I'm controlling the collar, and I felt really strong in this division. My was really hard for me to make the weight because I was normally like same weight as my brother.
Oh wow.
Like once I got to the weight, like I felt that my game like really fitted in the division, and the guys were like feeling my pressure,
Hmm.
and you see like I'm trying to set up the choke, like I'm already fitting the lapel, my knees touching the mat.
Did you kind of put yourself in half guard again to feed that lapel, or did he just kind of recover
Yeah,
it?
it's easier. It's easier to set up the position from the half guard than
Hmm.
it is from the side control. I think when you get to the side control, the person they have the rotation to both sides. Like they can start turning into you, and they can give the back. So like they keep like going back and forth like both directions, and it makes it complicated to adjust the choke. In the half guard, you force them to stay in one direction.
Ah, I see. I've noticed, so a lot of your students do the same position. So I'm sure this is one of your staples there at AOJ that you guys teach quite a bit, huh? The Bravo.
Yeah, like it's always like this, right? Like the new generation will always like have like some kind of influence, but we'll for sure like do things better, like and this is like the beauty of like every sport. It's just like seeing the new generation like just get inspired by people that were able to do like techniques or like things, and just come up with like a better version of it. So for sure, like I love watching my students. I really think they are a better version of the athlete that I was, and I feel happy because this is part of my work. This is part of my journey
Hmm.
as a professor, and it's something that I'm very very proud about.
What one thing I just noticed right now on this, you staple the inside arm here. Is that something you always do, or is you're always looking for?
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to lock him in a position where like he's not moving too much, so I can really adjust the choke, and that's what I did. Like,
And you switched it right at the
oh
very end.
yeah, and then I switched to the baseball choke. This guy is like a very nice guy. I followed him multiple times. He was from Alliance
Uh-huh.
under Fabio Gurgel, and he has a brother too. And he and his brother they do an amazing work like teaching jiu-jitsu, and they have like a really nice academy in Brazil under Alliance. So it's really cool to see how like we competed multiple times as like a blue belt, purple belt, black
Oh, really?
belt, and then we like we are now kind of like in the same path. I was teaching in Brazil and I saw him, and it's really nice, just to see people achieving their dreams, achieving their goals. And he was a kid that was always in the competitions too,
Hmm.
and he was putting the work, and for sure the work is it's paying off. Uh, I think it's a good example for his students. Same like as I am like to my students is that if you are passionate, if you put the work, like you can make things happen. You can achieve like what your ideal like success or like whatever you dream of.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to ask for your final thoughts, but that was a great way to leave off this interview. I just want to tell you thank you so much for your time, Professor. This was really cool to hear your insights on your philosophy of jiu-jitsu, your future of what you're going to do with your career now, your new career path, and your breakdowns. It was really awesome to see. So thank you so much. Is there
Thank
anything else
you.
you'd like to leave off with, or was that a good one for you?
No, I I'm very happy with like everything that like we have been doing in jiu-jitsu, and like how the all the fans and like the people that follow us and support us, like how they react to it. And I the spot that we are right now, I think it's is where I always dreamed about, like being like I we were able to be successful as athletes, and now is a different path where like we are discovering a lot of new things. We are getting better every day at it, and I just want to keep like motivating like the younger people, the people that are coming to really go out there and like do whatever it takes to achieve their goals, because that's exactly what I did. Like
Hmm.
I know that people can always like do better. Like a lot of people, they start like it doesn't matter if you start in a small city or it's not in a different country, whatever you are. Like I came from a really small city where there's like not a lot of expectations, to be honest, especially as an athlete. And we made our way through like the top of the sport, and uh, I think like anybody can do. There is no excuse, like it doesn't matter if you have uh, money or not, if you have opportunity, you just create opportunities by becoming a better person, a better athlete. Like, and I think this is the main message for everybody. It's like, it's not just like chase your dreams, but like the most important is like make yourself like special, like work to build skills that will attract people, will attract opportunities, and that's how you're going to stand out. That's how people are going to notice your work, and like things are going to start happening. If you sit down and you just wait, like things will never happen. It takes action. It takes a lot of work and discipline to for things to start happening. I think a wrong mentality that people always have is to say that they will put the work if they have the opportunity. I see that all the time. Like, oh, if I have this opportunity, then I will put the work, and that's wrong in anything that you do. In my opinion, at least, like for me, it's always you put the work first, and opportunities will come. And that's how I was taught, and that's how I teach now. It's first you need to go out there and show like who you are, and opportunities will come for sure if you have the right set of skills.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think your story is very inspirational. I think a lot of people are going to take away a lot from this interview, and it was a pleasure. Thank you, Professor.